Hello, I'm Pamela Davis. Welcome to episode 6 of the Well Done Life podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is your host, Pamela Davis, and you are listening to episode 6 of the Well Done Life podcast. We made it, guys. I'm so excited that you are back again. It has been a crazy week, and I'm so excited to be able to come to get back together, share, and continue to grow on the journey. And if you're new to this podcast, essentially this podcast is set up for everyone looking to come together to share their stories. This is about each of us realizing that no one really has it all together, but if we really just sat down and kind of shared our experiences, we can learn from each other and grow and really live the well-done life together. So that kind of leads me to this week's episode. Last week, I spent quite a bit of time talking about Kobe Bryant's death and all of the controversy that really was going around Gayle King and Snoop Dogg and all the vitriol and how important it is for us to kind of get to the root of understanding how much we really need each other, especially in the Black community, and how important it is that we really learn how to speak to one another. We really have to learn how to lead with love and to speak with each other in a more insightful way, and it doesn't always have to be public. So if you didn't get a chance to check out that episode, there's still time. It's out there. But this week, because we spent so much time last week kind of talking about the need to learn about how we need to address each other better, I think this week we should talk about who taught us to love ourselves. Let's kind of flip the narrative a little bit. Who taught us to love ourselves and kind of lead that into debunking the humble brag? Because I personally think you need to have humility in order to really grow. If I were to say one of the main lessons that I've learned over the past decade, I would say humility is one that has really granted me a lot of grace and a lot of opportunity for growth. And I think everybody has to get a moment where they're humbled, because in humility is where you learn. It is where you recognize, sometimes it's not all about you. And you need that so that you can really grow and learn how to truly love yourself and how to really love others. So that leads me really kind of kicking it off into who taught us to love ourselves. When I think about it, like I mentioned before, I was very fortunate. I was raised by two parents who really tried to instill in me a sense of self. My father especially, and I look back on that, I think a lot of my father's pushing my sister and I was because of the fact that he grew up with a single mother. He wanted to make sure that we knew at all times that we were queens, that we needed to be respected, and that there was nothing that we couldn't do if we put our minds to it. So it really helped us grow and evolve as children. But don't get me wrong, I still had insecurities. I really had a lot of insecurities. And my father, I think, saw that in me, but he recognized that a lot of my insecurities growing up and even into adulthood were really centered from my desire to please other people before learning that I needed to please myself. I distinctly remember a time when my father would tell me, these people that you're hanging around, some of them are nice, some of them aren't. And you have to recognize the difference. He never tried to steer me one way or the other, but he would give me little subtle hints here and there because he was like, you're always willing to put more of yourself into these friendships, but are they really serving you? Or are you holding yourself back so that you can be on the same level with these people and make them feel comfortable? Because one thing about teaching ourselves to love ourselves, it's not about the exterior. It's not about any of that. All of those things, yes, they contribute to your acceptance and love of yourself. But one thing that really contributes to the acceptance and love of yourself is understanding what you were really called to do and acknowledging that you are a gift to this world. I'm a firm believer that God made each of us special and unique to heal one of the issues of this world. We each bring a different perspective. And it's all a matter of whether we tap into this God given gift on the inside of us, or do we decide that, I'm just comfortable kind of getting along to get along. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that there's maybe another level that you could aspire to, but maybe that's just not where you want to go. But for those of us like myself who want to be more, who know that there's something inside of you to be more, it can cause you to sometimes feel awkward. I have to admit, I think I was kind of that awkward kid. I grew up in middle class, predominantly white neighborhoods, and I just kind of felt unsure. And it wasn't because I didn't know who I was. My dad was definitely, and my mom were filling my head with my history at home. Because, hey, I mean, I'm a 70s baby. I was born in 73, so I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And it wasn't like there was a lot of Black history being taught in school outside of George Washington Carver and Martin Luther King. So I got most of my knowledge from my parents because they grew up in North Carolina and they experienced a lot of the things firsthand, and they witnessed injustice within their own families. And so it was just so important to them that they know that we know where we're coming from as much as we possibly can. Because my dad always used to say, and my mom, if you don't know where you're from, you'll never know where you're going. So they've tried to instill that in me, but I was still awkward. I was still wanting to kind of fit in. And that desire to fit in really made me suppress who I was or what I was called to do for a long time. I think, awkward people, maybe like myself, we can tell you, we kind of feel a little different every once in a while. We're either very emotional about certain things or just very passionate. It's just, we know that there's more to this than what meets the eye. And we know we have a hand in how to shape it. It's just we haven't figured out how to get there. So to all the parents of special kids who have something in them and they're just trying to figure it out, encourage them to always keep striving, love and support them in all areas, because these are the people that are going to shape the world. And I don't know if I'm going to shape the world anymore, but I do know that there's more to this than what I'm doing. And believe it or not, I think part of my purpose is in this podcast. Because again, like I said, for me, it's about showing people that that nobody's an expert, that if we learn how to communicate and share, we can grow and develop together. I feel like I'm an encourager. And I think my God-given gifts, I have the gift of exhortation. And that is just, I have the ability to build people up, to help comfort them and to help them see more than they see inside of themselves. I'm a connector. So I know that that's a purpose-driven side of me, and I'm just tapping into it. I've always had it there in certain ways, but now that I've taught myself how to be better, how to acknowledge who I am more as a person, I'm able to tap into it more. So there's power in learning how to love yourself, because when you learn how to love yourself, you can tap further into those God-given gifts. And I apologize if that sounds a little deep, but your purpose, that's pretty deep. Your strengths, those are deep conversations. And sometimes you should be having those with the people that are around you, because you want people who are going to feed into your purpose, because there's blessings tied to that purpose, not just for you, but for them. So when you surround yourself with the right people, it's just amazing what can happen. But back to who taught us to love ourselves. So essentially, I learned the beginning of how to love myself through my parents. I really did. But as I got older, it was tricky, because I've struggled with my perception of who I was as a woman, and, feeling cute and understanding my beauty or my strength or downplaying my intelligence. I think we've all struggled. And sometimes I had to I got into a dark place about it, or, I felt uncomfortable. And like I think I've mentioned before, my insecurities manifested onto other people, and it damaged friendships because I was unsure about certain aspects of myself. So I'll be honest, the second part of who taught me to love myself was time. As I got older, I got wiser. I got stronger. And I learned how life is so much less complex than what we like to make it to be. I totally agree with the old saying that you'll understand when you're older. It is the truth. Especially after I started to hit some of the milestone ages. 40 was a milestone. I would probably say it actually even started sooner. For me, I think I started going through my journey when I became a caregiver, and I was in my late 30s when I started taking care of my mom and my sister, because those journeys forced me to stop looking at life through such a colored glass and really see it for what it was, and recognize that I'm stronger than what I was giving myself credit for being. So that was really a key turning point to learning how to love myself, because I had to spend time with myself. Spending time is just so important, and we don't really make a lot of time for ourselves. So I really feel blessed because it allowed me to really dig into the person I was. And I really, at that point, was so focused on just trying to work and just make money and buy stupid things. And I wasn't really as focused as I needed to be on my family and on myself. And it's amazing how sometimes God will sit you down because you're not doing what He needs you to do. You're not learning the lesson that He needs you to learn. So I really am grateful for that sit down moment, because during that time, that's when I learned that I loved myself. And it's definitely a journey. I would love to say like learning how to love yourself is like an aha moment, but it's not. It evolves every day and every year, every moment, because there's always going to be something that's going on in life that will make you question if you're on the right track. But I think the key to it all is learning how to really recognize when it's okay to love yourself and be acknowledge that love. That's why I wanted to kind of talk about the humble brag. And it's so funny because I Googled the humble brag. I really thought the humble brag, like I mentioned to you earlier, I thought the humble brag was cool because I really think I do a lot of humble brags because I'm kind of shy and socially awkward. So, like, when I get recognized and I get praise, I really appreciate it. But in the same thing, I'm actually thinking to myself, really? You're really excited about that? I thought it was this like old hat that I did that, you know? And I really appreciate you recognizing me for it, but isn't that what I'm supposed to do? So I literally question myself sometimes. And sometimes I can be a little self deprecating, but I think we all can, because it's like, oh, that was nothing, or oh, that was so easy. But really, it's not like you're trying to elicit a different response. It's just, or in my case, I'm not. I'm just really saying what I'm thinking. And just to kind of reinforce again what the humble brag supposedly means is it's an ostensibly modest or self-deprecating statement whose actual purpose is to draw attention to something of which one is proud. So again, the examples that they list are social media status updates, are basically selfies, humble brags, and rants. And again, please excuse me for mispronouncing any of those words. I get a little nervous still potting with you guys. I love y'all, but your girl is a tad bit shy. But again, back to the humble brag, because that's not really how I view it. I really, like I said, kind of growing up, have always struggled with diminishing myself a little to make other people feel comfortable or to make sure that I'm accepted. So sometimes it still is hard for me to believe that I'm at this place where I'm accomplishing my goals or getting blessed in certain ways. It doesn't mean that I don't think God loves me or wants to bless me. It's just, I'm amazed at how great things are. And I'm just so grateful that I just kind of downplay it and keep it kind of quiet so that I don't have to worry about it getting jeopardized. But that's not really what blessings are for. That's not really what self-love is about. Self-love is being able to stand in who you are and loving yourself enough to be able to accept that praise and that gratitude. And humble brags are to say, thank you. I'm really happy and excited that I'm getting this award, and being able to say it with humility, but being able to accept the grace that's on your life because you're blessed and you deserve to be blessed. And I hope that everyone in the sound of my voice kind of understands that you deserve to be blessed. So humble bragging is okay. It's not because you're trying to elicit an emotion or a reaction. Hopefully not. And there may be some people who are allowing insecurity to make them feel like they have to humbly brag. But I truly believe that there's a lot of people out there who are just so amazed by how great God is in their life, how wonderful these blessings feel, that you just want to be humble about it because you don't want to take the chance that something may happen. It might go away. You want to celebrate that success more and more because it just feels so good because you struggled so much. I know that that's how I felt about a lot of things. I was humbly bragging to someone, or not humbly bragging per se, but talking to somebody. I got an award from work, and I worked my butt off for that award. Let me not misjudge it. Let me not misquote it. I did. I worked my behind off for that award. And I had something to prove to myself and to other people. So I earned it and I got it, and I'm grateful for it. But at the same time, I'm probably going to be more humble about it because it's like, wow, I have been at the bottom. I remember when I was just struggling to make ends meet and just going from one role at my company to another, trying to figure out where I was supposed to be. And then all of a sudden, in the matter of a year, God was able to turn it around and give me something that makes me and place me in a position that makes me feel like I'm exactly doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I feel blessed and I'm grateful for that. And then being able to just see how things are working out in my life, all of it coming together for God, for my good. I always knew God was faithful. I always knew God was behind it. But to allow me to really just stand in it and lovingly accept all of the blessings, it just feels good. It feels so good. I just can't stand it. And it's that wanting to be humble about it because I just want to keep that grace going because I truly believe God's favor and love is rooted in humility. You can't get so boastful that you forget where your blessings came from. So I allow that humility to be rooted in me. And again, now tied with the fact that I love myself, it's just like, wow, I feel like the sky is the limit and the wind is at my back and there's nothing that I can't accomplish. And I want each of you to have that type of feeling too, because I know for some of us out here, it's not an easy road. And some of us are still trying to figure out our way and how to do it. So we do have to learn how to kind of click back into those moments where we learn how to love ourselves. We have to click back into those moments where we recognize I worked hard for this goal that I'm accomplishing. I deserve this goal, and I don't have to be humble about it. Or I don't have to be bragful about it, but I can still humbly mention that I'm blessed and that this is the blessing that's on my life right now. Because that might motivate somebody else to be able to go out there and achieve their goals. It's all about learning who taught us to love ourselves, and it's okay to humbly brag. Don't ever diminish that side of yourself. No matter what the world may think, if you know that it's rooted in a place from love and from compassion and honesty and just hopes of being an inspiration, then you're doing it in the right way. It's not anything to try to make somebody feel like they're less than. You're trying to make somebody feel like you're more than. And that's what the Well Done Life is all about. I'm just so glad that we, are getting to those points where we start to really talk about those things, because it's important. That's what all this is about. No matter how much money you may make, those moments that you're able to really accomplish your goals, share your story, lift somebody up, and watch them grow into their stuff, that's moments of love. That's moments of growth. That's truly accomplishing our goals. And that's really giving praise and reverence to those people who taught us to love ourselves, including us, because we are finally living the well done life. I hope that didn't sound a little too all over the map, but I wanted to make sure we talked about it, because I just think it's important that we have more of those conversations, especially after kind of coming off something so negative last week, but learning how, everything all sets up and ties back together. So we're wrapping up. This is wrapping up episode 6. Next week is episode 7. And just to kind of give you a heads up, next week is going to be a recap episode. I've decided that every 7th episode, I'm going to kind of recap all of the other episodes. So just in case you missed one episode, hopefully I'll say something that will inspire you in the 7th episode for you to go back. But also to kind of make sure that we're, again, staying on the journey together, because I'm not doing this just to do it. I'm doing this because I feel called to do it, which is what we discussed today. This is my purpose. This is a connection point, and it definitely keeps me accountable. I'm so excited that we have made it this far. Consistency. So if I say one last thing to remind you guys, remember, who taught you to love yourself? Think back to that person. Think back to that moment, that instance, that situation. They did that so that you can learn the gift that is inside of you. Because remember, every person, I believe, in this earth is ordainedly blessed with an opportunity to heal one of the issues of this world. They just don't know it. So I want you to make the choice today. Do you want to just keep going? And if you do decide to keep going, there's no judgment. I hope I can continue to encourage you to keep going on the path, because adulting is hard. Going through regular life is hard. But if there is something inside of you that you know that you want to do and you've been afraid to do it, please let this be that moment where you decide that you're going to try. Because if you don't try, you'll never know what you really could be, what you really could do, and you deserve it. You are a blessing to this world, and we need you. So I want you to try it, to get out here and accomplish it, so that you can humbly share your story and brag about everything that you've accomplished, so that you can motivate that next person to go and do that exact same thing. Heck, you never know. We could be all the change the world needs right here between this podcast conversation. And we just have to go out there and recognize our power and go do it. So I hope you'll do it today. And if you have not liked and shared and subscribed, please go and like and share and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Stitcher. You can find us on Spotify. And if you want to reach out to me, which I would love, please don't hesitate. Email me at thewelldonelife@gmail.com. You can tweet me at I am Pamela L. Davis. You can reach me on Instagram at Pamela L. Davis and on Facebook at Pamela Davis. I'll definitely be sharing the podcast out after this one publishes. I definitely want your feedback. I value it, because that's what's going to help us get better on this journey together. And I thank you, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. Have a wonderful week. Make it epic, and do something that you never thought that you could do. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.